What would you do if you found a secret door in your basement? Would you open it or leave it alone? Let me tell you a story about someone who made that decision and the consequences they faced. It started on a rainy Sunday evening. Jenna, a 29-year-old graphic designer, had just moved into her dream home, a century-old Victorian house in a quiet neighborhood. She was unpacking boxes in the basement when her flashlight beam flickered over something odd on the far wall. A section of the bricks didn't match the rest. Curious, Jenna approached and knocked. The sound was hollow. She felt along the edges of the bricks and discovered a barely visible seam, a small rectangular outline that hinted at a hidden door. Her pulse quickened. She hadn't noticed anything about a secret door in the inspection report. At first, Jenna told herself to leave it alone, but as the storm outside raged, so did her curiosity. She found herself rummaging through her toolbox for something to pry the door open. With a little effort, the bricks gave way, revealing a narrow wooden door with a rusted iron handle. The smell of damp earth and decay wafted out. It was as if the house itself were holding its breath, waiting. Behind the door was a staircase carved into stone and descending into the dark. Jenna hesitated but rationalized. It's probably just an old root cellar. Nothing to worry about. She grabbed her flashlight and ventured down. The steps creaked under her weight as she descended. The air grew colder, and the smell of decay thickened. Her flashlight beam wavered as she reached the bottom. What she saw made her breath catch. The cellar was lined with shelves, but they weren't holding jars of preserves or tools. Instead, they were filled with old leather-bound books, strange trinkets, and jars containing things she couldn't, or didn't want to, identify. The centerpiece of the room was an ancient-looking table covered in symbols Jenna didn't recognize. Hanging above the table was an oil lamp, still lit, its flame burning with a faint, eerie blue glow. She realized, with growing dread, that someone had been down here recently. On the table lay a journal, its leather cover cracked and brittle. Jenna picked it up and opened it. The pages were filled with cramped handwriting and disturbing illustrations. A phrase repeated throughout the text, "The door must stay closed." Jenna's heart pounded as she turned a page depicting a figure opening a door identical to the one she had just discovered. Beneath it the words, "Do not wake it." Suddenly a noise broke the silence, a faint scratching sound like nails against stone. It came from the far corner of the room where an ornate iron cage sat. The cage was empty, its door swinging open. The scratching grew louder, closer. Jenna's flashlight flickered and the blue flame above her danced wildly. She froze, paralyzed by fear, as a shadow moved in the periphery of her vision. Before she could react, the shadow materialized. A grotesque, gaunt figure with hollow eyes and limbs that seemed too long for its body. It crawled toward her, moving unnaturally fast, its movements jerky like a marionette controlled by an unskilled puppeteer. Jen screamed and ran up the stairs, but the creature followed, its bony fingers scraping along the walls. She barely made it out, slamming the wooden door shut behind her and piling bricks against it. For a moment, silence returned. But then came the whispering, a soft, chilling chorus of voices seeping through the cracks. The words were indistinct but insistent, as if pleading for her to return. The aftermath. That night, Jenna couldn't sleep. The whispering continued, growing louder. The next morning, she called a contractor to seal the wall entirely, hoping to bury the door for good. But even after the bricks were replaced, the whispers didn't stop. Every night they grew louder, more demanding. Shadows danced in the corners of her home. Objects moved on their own. The house no longer felt like hers. It felt alive, and it wanted her gone. Desperate, Jenna went to the library to research her house's history. She learned it had once belonged to a reclusive occultist who vanished without a trace. Rumors suggested he had been trying to summon something from another realm, and that whatever he had called forth had never left. So, What would you do if you found a secret door in your basement? Jenna had answered that question by opening it, unleashing something she could never contain. And now, she lives with the consequences. The whispers have stopped, but only because Jenna herself no longer lives in the house. She fled, leaving everything behind. Yet sometimes, late at night in her new apartment, she still hears faint scratching at her walls.